Welcome back, Westeros fans! Today, we're diving into the premiere of HBO's brand new spin-off, A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, Season 1, Episode 1, titled The Hedge Knight. This is a series that takes us about 100 years before Game of Thrones into a smaller, quieter, yet surprisingly heartwarming corner of the Seven Kingdoms. But don't be fooled. Just because the dragons and political intrigue aren't front and center doesn't mean there's no excitement. This first episode introduces us to a lovable, clumsy, yet honorable hedge knight named Ser Duncan the Tall, or Dunk, and his soon-to-be squire, Egg. And from the very first moment, we know we're in for something entirely different from the brutal, high-stakes Westeros you may be used to. The episode opens in the pouring rain, with a scene that is both bleak and unexpectedly funny. Dunk, played masterfully by Peter Claffey, is burying his former master, Sir Arlan of Pennytree. The three horses, Thunder, Sweetfoot, and Chestnut, stand silently by, almost like witnesses to this quiet moment of grief. What's beautiful here is the tone. Unlike the grim, oppressive Westeros of Game of Thrones, this scene mixes pathos with humor. Dunk reflects on his life with Sir Arlan, giving us little flashbacks of times his mentor disciplined him, but only when he truly deserved it. The show even uses a cutaway gag to these moments, blending dark humor and emotional resonance. You get a sense of Dunk's upbringing, rough, lonely, yet full of lessons about decency and courage. After laying Arlan to rest, Dunk takes up his mentor's sword, shield, and three horses. He begins to consider his next move. Should he sell the horses, join the City Watch in King's Landing, or, his true desire, enter the tournament at Ashford Meadow, prove himself, and maybe earn employment under a noble lord? The scene abruptly cuts to one of the most shocking and hilarious moments of the premiere: Dunk relieving himself behind a tree. Yes, this is Westeros like you've never seen it. Raucous, absurd, and oddly charming. It immediately tells us the series isn't taking itself too seriously, while still grounding us in a medieval world of dirt, sweat, and horses. On the way to Ashford, Dunk stops at a quiet inn. Here, we meet the first major supporting character, Egg, a tiny, bald boy played with mischievous charm by Dexter Soul Ansel. Dunk initially mistakes Egg for a stable boy and instructs him to tend the horses, not realizing that this boy has a mind of his own. Egg, of course, immediately proves to be clever, insolent, and full of spirit. Dunk catches him playing on one of the horses, Thunder, and the pair share a humorous back-and-forth exchange. Through this encounter, the show introduces the dynamic that will define their relationship. Egg wants to be Dunk's squire, but Dunk refuses at first, fearing the boy's safety and knowing the harsh life of a knight. Inside the inn, Dunk orders a feast: duck, lamb, and more, and we get a taste of the show's grounded humor. The innkeep, rough and pragmatic, swigs from her mug before serving Dunk, and there's even a tense but funny moment with a drunken lord brandishing a knife, warning Dunk to stay away from him. Intriguingly, this man pays with a coin bearing the Targaryen three-headed dragon, hinting at connections that may come into play later in the series. With his stomach full and his horses ready, Dunk heads toward Ashford Meadow. This is where the series really begins to shine in its world building. Ashford isn't just a backdrop, it's a living, breathing tournament town, full of colorful banners, bustling tents, vendors, knights, and soldiers. It feels authentic and immersive, a stark contrast to the CGI-heavy Westeros sets we've seen before. Dunk's first stop is the Master of Games, Plumber, played with hilarious absurdity by Tom Vaughan Lawler. Dunk claims that he was knighted by Sir Arlan, a story that is, at best, a half-truth. Plumber gives Dunk a reality check. Without a witness to vouch for his knighthood, he can't enter the tournament, and if Dunk loses, he risks forfeiting his sword, armor, and horses with no money to redeem them. The stakes are high, even in this light-hearted episode. The only person who could vouch for Dunk is Sir Manfred Dondarrion, because Arlan had once served his father. Dunk sets out to find him, but of course, this is Westeros. Nothing is simple. He encounters the Fossaways, the arrogant and hostile Sir Steffan, and his kind, genial cousin, Raymond. Steffan challenges Dunk, but he wisely avoids confrontation. Meanwhile, Dunk also experiences the darker, seedier side of the tournament camp, interactions with a pair of prostitutes who mock him for his humble origins. Yet, even in these encounters, Dunk's inherent goodness shines through. He doesn't lash out. Instead, he stands firm, politely but assertively defending himself, and even earns a bit of respect. The show subtly emphasizes a key theme. Dunk's virtue, not his social standing or swordsmanship, wins people over. Dunk then stumbles upon a puppet show led by the shy and captivating Tencel. The dragon puppet is impressive, but it's Tencel herself who captures Dunk's attention. Their silent chemistry hints at romance and admiration, adding another layer of warmth to the episode. Even in this whimsical, comedic world, the series sprinkles in moments of quiet beauty. Later, Dunk is invited to the tent of Lord Lyonel Baratheon, the infamous Laughing Storm, thanks to Raymond's kind intervention. Here, the show reaches a delightful high point of humor and charm. Lyonel, drunk and exuberant, throws a party, challenges Dunk with absurd questions, and even dances with him in a comically competitive foot-stomping contest. Yet under the hilarity lies a serious note. Lyonel is honest with Dunk. He has no chance of winning the tournament against seasoned knights, but he also subtly teaches Dunk an important lesson. The worth of a knight isn't measured in victory alone, but in courage, integrity, and the willingness to face challenges with honor. Finally, Dunk finds Manfred Dondarrion, who is dismissive and indifferent, claiming not to remember Sir Arlan or Dunk's service. This moment serves a narrative purpose. Dunk's first real test isn't in combat, but in navigating a world where nobility often disregards loyalty and sacrifice. Dunk leaves without support, a moment that highlights the small stakes of this small knight in a sprawling, uncaring world. The episode closes on the most heartwarming note. Returning to his makeshift camp, Dunk discovers that Egg has followed him all the way to Ashford, traveling in the back of a lamb cart. Egg has set up a fire, washed Dunk's clothes, and cooked a fish for dinner. It's a touching, almost domestic scene, highlighting the bond that will define the series. Dunk finally accepts Egg as his squire, promising to treat him well and keep him fed. They lie beneath the stars, and a shooting star streaks across the sky. Egg remarks that perhaps the luck is theirs alone, since all the other knights are sleeping under tents. Dunk, with a mix of gruffness and affection, threatens him with a clout in the ear before quietly considering the sentiment. This quiet, intimate moment perfectly captures the tone of the series, a blend of humor, heart, and human connection in a world usually defined by power and violence. So, what do we make of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms Episode 1? This premiere is a masterclass in tone, humor, and character work. Dunk is instantly lovable, a giant of a man with a giant heart. Egg is clever, brave, and precociously charming. The world of Ashford Meadow feels alive and immersive, and the supporting cast, from the Fossaways to Lord Lyonel Baratheon, adds layers of comedy, tension, and intrigue. Most importantly, the series reminds us that Westeros is more than swords and dragons. Sometimes the greatest adventures are those of decency, friendship, and the courage to do right when no one is watching. For 40 minutes, we laugh, we smile, and we root for two unlikely heroes against the vastness of the Seven Kingdoms. For fans of Game of Thrones looking for something lighter, warmer, and endlessly charming, A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms is a breath of fresh air, a reminder that heroism comes in many shapes and sizes, sometimes in a giant hedge knight and a tiny bald squire with big dreams.